What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs have kept the 14th pick in the draft, at least thus far, and have drafted Carter Bryant. He was one of the players that I spoke about that I really wanted to see if they kept the 14th pick, a guy that I wanted to see them draft, right? Obviously, Dylan Harper was the second pick. Did a whole video on that. Go check out that video after this video, of course. But talked about Dylan Harper, and, I talked about how, hey, they need more besides Dylan Harper. They really need to solve their wing depth issues, right? They really need to solve that 3 spot, that 4 spot, right? And get some guys, start carving out some guys that can come in and play a role. And a guy like Carter Bryant, I think, would be fantastic, right? A versatile defensive player that can defend really, 1 through 4 on many occasions, right? He's got good size, good strength. He can shoot out on the perimeter. Like, he is what many believe him to be as that prototype kind of 3-and-D type of guy. Can he be a sort of, Mikal Bridges, Andrew Wiggins type, or even like an OG, a little, not as stocky as OG, but you get the point, right? Like, that, can he kind of solidify himself on this Spurs team as this real 3-and-D kind of threat? Now that they went and have kept the pick, again, at least unless, something happens later on down the road, but assuming that they do keep the pick and they do keep Carter Bryant, I really want to see them keep Harrison Barnes, right? Like, I already wanted them to keep Harrison Barnes just because Harrison Barnes, I think, just gives you that veteran presence, gives you that guy that knows, plays, and understands his role, fits in beautifully, right? He's a guy that can, play either forward position for you. And so I look at Harrison Barnes is like, hey, he could be a vital piece to this team that can help and contribute, right? I understand, he's older, he's an expiring contract, so if you can find something of value, I would, but I'd rather honestly keep him, even if it was like over like a Keldon Johnson or something like that. Honestly, like, that's just me, because again, you need the veteran presence, you need the leadership, especially since you're probably losing Chris Paul. It'd be nice to have a guy in Harrison Barnes. It'd be nice to have him primarily now to kind of be a mentor for Carter Bryant. Take him under his wing. Look, say what you want about Harrison Barnes, right? Giddy was never like a superstar, like top end type of 3-and-D guy, but he was a very good and has built a career as a very good, reliable 3-and-D player. Right? A guy that just, again, knows, understands, and plays his role beautifully. Has won an NBA championship and was huge in that Golden State run. I mean, hit some huge shots, was very comfortable in that moment. He was very young when that happened, right? So, again, to have that guy kind of come in and be able to, put him under his wing and kind of help grow and develop Carter Bryant, I'd love to see something like that. I was hopeful that the Spurs would be able to land Bryant. I did several videos on like several different options, but Carter Bryant was one of the ones that I spoke very highly on. And I said, this is the guy I'd really like to see the San Antonio Spurs end up drafting if he is available, because there was good chance that somebody else picked him up. Right? I mean, this draft is, for the most part, kind of gone how you would expect. I do think Kaman Malik, right? Which, man, I was like, fingers crossed. Like, he wasn't going to fall to 14th, but I was like, man, and there was a big part of me that was kind of like, dude, the Spurs should maybe trade up and go get him, because I think you could have played him alongside Victor Wembanyama, right? Because Wemby likes to take 8 to 10 threes anyway, right? So have Wemby be your 5 for right now. Bring in Kaman Malik off the bench and let him kind of grow and develop, right? And then at some point make that transition to where he's your starter at center, and then you have Wemby as your starter at the power forward. That could have been something very impressive, but obviously that didn't happen. And so at that point, I think you look at this both ways, right? One, you solved a need in Carter Bryant that gives you a legit 3-and-D option that slots in beautifully, right? Whether he's starting or coming off the bench, we'll see kind of how the Spurs go with their particularly their starting lineup, right? With Dylan Harper now. Is it something where maybe Castle is sliding over and playing the 3? I imagine Dylan Harper probably comes off the bench at least to start momentarily. Do they maybe make Stephon Castle come off the bench? I don't know about that, because he's the guy in year 2. Kind of let Dylan Harper earn his stripes and kind of evolve and mold into his own. That's something that I would kind of, ideally look to do. And then at some point, maybe make that transition. If he really starts to blossom and come into his own, then you can easily put him in at the 2, slide Stephon Castle at the 3, and then kind of take it from there. And then Carter Bryant, you can run smaller lineups. See, this is the problem. At some point, you're going to have to start making some decisions. Obviously, it's not something they have to do necessarily this offseason or right now. But in the coming years, you're probably going to have to make some decisions, right? Because Carter Bryant's probably the guy you're going to put at the 3. Maybe you're trading De'Aaron Fox, right? That could be very possible. Maybe Fox is the guy you end up trading, and now you have Harper, Castle with Carter Bryant, and Victor Wembanyama as kind of your foundation. We'll see what else they do in this draft. Obviously, they traded the 38th pick, kind of kicked the can down the road, which I think we all kind of expected that they were going to trade one of the picks. I didn't think that they were going to draft, 5 guys in this year's draft. But nonetheless, Carter Bryant, again, gives you a guy that not only fits a need, but he's also was, in my opinion, arguably, there's always guys, especially in those later rounds, that it's marginal, but I do think he was the best player available, right? So usually you'll see it's like, you got to take the best player available. Well, sometimes it's not the guy that actually makes, is the best fit. In this case, I think they got the guy that was the best player available, and they got the best fit. And they got somebody that was very high and linked to the Spurs for quite some time. There were some talks about them potentially drafting a big man at with the 14th pick. Maybe that's something that was thought about, and then Bryant was still on the board, and it was like, hey, we can't pass this up. We got to take him. Like, what are we going to do? We're just not going to take him. But again, gives you that young, athletic, dynamic, versatile defender. I mean, he is looked at as a legit 3-and-D wing type of player. Like, Dylan Harper was the guy that was expected, right? He was the guy we all knew Spurs are going to draft, right? Like, we all knew Spurs are going to take Dylan Harper, and then whatever happens later will happen later. But for right now, Dylan Harper is going to be the guy that they're going to draft. It was the 14th pick where we were all kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? How are they going to approach this, right? And then, fast forward, and, it was like, are they going to trade it? Obviously, with the Kevin Durant trade and all that stuff, that ends up not happening. There was like some Jaylen Brown buzz earlier in the day. They were listening and engaging and shopping the number 2 and number 14th pick. I didn't think that they were going to trade the number 2 pick, but you knew that they were going to potentially trade the number 14th pick. So fast forward, and they end up drafting Carter Bryant, which I love. I'm excited for. I'm looking forward to kind of see how he progresses, in the silver and black, and see if he can be a guy that, is another foundation piece for this team. We'll kind of see how this all plays out. But I'm excited. What do you think? As always, this is a discussion at Pass Question on You. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you happy that they drafted Carter Bryant? Was he one of the players that you wanted? Was there somebody else in particular that you wanted? Were you kind of mixed in the middle? Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.